Good afternoon. Parashat Bo. בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, לעילוי נשמת יחזקאל ברוך בן אברהם הלוי, רחל יעקב, אווה בת אילנה אסתר, רחל בת חווה, and all those murdered prior on and post October 7, שהנשמות יקבלו עלייה, שתהי זאת עלייה לנשמות. And רפואה שלמה for זכריה דוב בן פרל שירה, אורה בת דליה, שמעון דניאל בן מיכל, אברהם בן חנה, וכל החיילים, all the soldiers and all the חולים of עם ישראל. And he is also dedicated for the safe return of our hostages and soldiers, and for all our singles שיזכו לבנות בית נאמן בישראל בקדושה ובטהרה. Soon, בעזרת השם בקרוב, and thank you to all my listeners for tuning in and wanting to grow in Torah. And may Hashem bless you to grow and learn and understand the Torah. And thank you, Hashem, for all your chasadim. So this week's parasha is Parashat Bo. Actually, this parasha has about 20 mitzvot. This is the parasha of Yetziat Mitzrayim, when Ben Israel are about to come out of Mitzrayim. And what does the Exodus, what does the coming out of Mitzrayim, what does this mean for us? This means this is the birth of the Jewish nation, the birth of Am Yisrael. Until now, we're just a group of people. We were slaves, but no more. Now we become a nation. And this is the parasha that teaches us about Rosh Chodesh, about the matzah, about Korban Pesach, about Hametz. So, to start with, the parasha starts by Hashem saying to Moshe, Bo el Paro. Vayomer Hashem, Bo el Paro. Just on the side, I want you to notice that it says here Vayomer and not Vaidaber, as we spoke about in Parashat Va'era, that Vaidaber is a harsher tone of speech. And here Hashem is speaking to Moshe. And Or HaChaim says on Perek Yud Pasuk Aleph of the parasha, it says Vayomer, which is a softer speech, is full of compassion, of rahamim, of mercy for Moshe. This is not for Paro, because Hashem is speaking to Moshe to say to Paro. So who is the compassion for? Is it for Paro or is it for Moshe? So Or HaChaim HaKadosh tells us, no, this is, the compassion is to Moshe. Because these words were going to make happy. They were going to make Moshe happy. What words? And why happy? Hashem says, I have made his heart, Paro's heart, and the heart of his servants hard. Lema'an shiti ototai ele bikirbo. Hashem said, I have made them stubborn. Why? So that I can put these signs of mine, which is the makot, right? Within him, within Paro and within all the Mitzrayim. Moshe was happy to hear that Hashem was going to punish the Mitzrayim. How is that possible? We're not supposed to be happy about the suffering of another human being, right? So the Gemara explains, this is not just vengeance. It's not. This is all about justice, fixing something that was wrong. So just as we see, like now in our days, we see with Hamas, right? Hashem Yimashmam, and all other anti-Semites, how what they have done, they've killed so many innocent people, and all the atrocities that they did. And yet there are people who say, yeah, of course, yes, it should be done. Right? And we are fighting them because it's wrong. Justice has to be done. And so this is exactly how Moshe felt. כי אפילו מידת הרחמים הסכימה בשמחה לעשות דין ולהינקם מאויב זה. Because even the midat harachamim, Or HaChaim says, agreed gladly to punish Paro and take revenge from this enemy. Because the sins of the Rishaim caused the midat harachamim to be transformed into strict justice, into din. Why? To correct something that was wrong. Hashem said, Bo el Paro. Bo means come. Really, Hashem should have said, lech, go to Paro. Bo, as I said, means come. It really should have been lech el Paro. But Hashem was saying to Moshe, come to Paro. I am going along with you. You are not on your own when you're going to go to Paro. Bo is Hashem teaching us, all of you, whatever you're going, whatever you're doing, you are all never alone. In all kinds of situations, challenges, difficulties, I am with you. And that's why David HaMelech said in Tehillim, in Perek Chav Gimel, Pasuk Dalet, Gam ki elech begetz al mavet. Even if I walk in the valley of death, lo irara, nothing bad will happen to me. I'll be safe. Ki ata imadi, because you, Hashem, you are with me. That means you're protecting me. You're saving me. You're taking care of me. Hashem is with us when we are being challenged and when we are successful. Not only at a time when there's trouble, but also at a time when we are successful. That success comes from Hashem. These are words that have been passed down from generation to generation. Midor ledor. We say many pesukim from Sefer Shemot, from this parasha, and from last week's parasha, and the week before. We say many pesukim in the Haggadah. We read them the nights of the Sedarim. And why? למען תספר באוזני בנך ובן בנך את אשר התעללתי במצרים. Hashem said to Moshe in this week's parasha, because you have to tell your son, you have got to make his ears listen to this, to your son and to your grandson, and so on, from door to door, from generation to generation. This has got to be passed down. What I did, ita'alalti, what I did, how I punished the Mitzrayim. And actually, this week, we heard the mother of, I think her name is Agam Berger. She was supposed to be freed. She's a hostage, and she was supposed to be freed this past Shabbat. And Hamas obviously did not keep their part of the bargain. And so she didn't. So the mother said in an interview that her daughter, who is still captive, she is still a hostage. So the mother said, I guess she must have heard this from the women who came out, that the Arabs are using them for as slaves, really. They have to cook, they have to clean, and do all kind of things. And they asked her, the Hamas has asked her daughter, Agam, to cook on Shabbat. She looked straight into their face and she said, no, I'm not. I'm not cooking. Today is Shabbat and I don't cook. As a Jew, I don't cook on Shabbat. Can you imagine having the audacity, to have the courage to say this to your captors? They could just right away just shoot her right away, put a bullet in her head. And the mother again quoted David HaMelech, as I just did. Gam ki elech beget salmavet, even if I walk in the valley of death, lo irara, nothing bad will happen to me. Ki ata imadi, because you, Hashem, you are with me, you're protecting me. You're keeping an eye on me. So it is really, the lesson really here is that it is up to us to take Hashem with us wherever we go and into any situation we might face. So Moshe goes to Paro and tells him to let Ben Israel go. And if not, the locusts will come on Mitzrayim. Right? However, we are still not done with Bo coming to coming to Paro. The Me'am Lo'ez in Perek Aleph, Me'am Lo'ez asks the question: why did Hashem have to say, Bo, I'm coming with you? What happened before that caused Hashem to say to Moshe, I'm coming with you? So Me'am Lo'ez explains that when the Barad, the ice and the fire, hit Mitzrayim, Paro said to Moshe in Perek Tet, Pasuk Chav Zayin, Chatati hapa'am, okay, I have sinned, Paro said to Moshe. Hashem HaTzadik, Hashem is the Tzadik, it means that he is right, right? Va'ani va'ami harsha'im. But me, Paro, and my people were all reshaim, were wicked. When Moshe heard this, Moshe was sure that Paro did teshuvah. Wow, Paro must have done teshuvah. If Paro can say these words, he must have done teshuvah. Therefore, there isn't any need to bring on Paro and the Mitzrayim any more makot. Right? Hashem doesn't need to punish them if they already recognize that they are wrong for making Ben Israel suffer so much and for not letting Ben Israel out of the country. But obviously that was not the case. And Hashem said to Moshe, Bo el Paro, warn him that I am bringing the Arbe on Mitzrayim. The Arbe are the locust. Why did Paro say these words? Chatati hapa'am, Hashem HaTzadik, ve'ani ve'ami hareshaim. So why did Paro say this time? He didn't say after the blood. He didn't say after the frogs. He didn't say that after none of the previous makot, plagues. He only said it this time. Why did he say it? Right? So the answer is that these words did not come from his heart. That's the Me'am Lo'ez who said this, right? These words were only lip service. He was just saying words. He didn't mean any at all. It didn't come from his heart. That proved that to Moshe that actually Paro was a even bigger Rasha And he put himself on the same level as Hashem. So that's why Hashem had to send him again for the next plague. Because Paro didn't mean what he said. And that's why Hashem said, come, I'm coming with you. Together we're going to go to Paro. The warning was given about the Arbe. Moshe and Aaron, right after they had given the warning to Paro, they had left the palace. I guess Paro and his advisors thought about this situation, and they decided to send a messenger to bring back Moshe and Aaron to the palace. And Paro says, Lechu, Perek Yud, Pasuk Het, Lechu, Ivdu et Hashem Elokechem. Okay, go and serve your God. And Moshe answered, Bin'arenu u'beziknenu nelech. Who's going to go? Paro asked. And Moshe said, Bin'arenu, we're going to go with our young ones, u'beziknenu, with our older ones, and the elderly. Nelech, we're going to go. Bebanenu, with our sons, ubevnotenu, and with our daughters. Betzonenu, with our sheep. Uvkarenu, and with our herds. Nelech, we are going to go. Ki chag laHashem lanu, because this is for us a holiday that we have to celebrate with Hashem. We all need to go because this is a spiritual event that each and every one of us has to be part of and be part of. Has to take part of, and be part of. Paro said, it's enough if only the men go. The elders, let them go and they're going to fulfill their duties, right? To appease Hashem, so to say. To appease Hashem? So here we see the difference between the Avodat Hashem, the service of Hashem between Moshe and Paro. Paro thought that just by sending the elders, and this is explained by Sivan Rahav Meir, and she says that the Paro thought that just by sending the elders would be enough to appease Hashem. That's it, we have to appease the gods. So you send your elders and that's enough. It's enough to appease Hashem. By send babies and toddlers, old people who can barely walk, and would have a hard time traveling. Moshe says no. Hashem loves each and every one of them. And we want to serve Hashem. Hashem wants a connection with each and every one of them. And we want a connection with Hashem. Therefore, we cannot leave anyone behind. This is not a matter of appeasing Hashem, but rather to be part of the Avodat Hashem, but rather to be part of the service of Hashem. We want that connection. We see this dialogue all along the Makot. Each one stands by his own words. Moshe does not give an inch. All of us must go. Paro believes only the men should go. Until the very end, by Makat Bechorot, only then Paro decides to let them go, as he was afraid to die. Just like all the other Bechorot, just like the other firstborns, because he was a firstborn. To the point where that Paro went on the street in Goshen looking for Moshe and tell them to leave now. Go, leave now. But Moshe said, no, we're not leaving now, middle of the night. We're going to leave during the day, not during the night, right? And there's a whole thing about Moshe going to look for the bones, the coffin of Yosef, and Ben Israel getting packing their dough, right? However, the next thing we learn in this parasha, in the middle of all of this, doesn't tell us about the rest of the makot. Doesn't tell us. But what does it say? In the middle of it, it speaks to us about Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh? How come in the middle of the makot? Right? And the answer is like this. The Jewish year starts in Tishrei, right? Why? Because in Tishrei, that's when man was born, was created. So it's like the birthday of each year. We commemorate the birthday of humans. Nisan is the month that we left Mitzrayim, the month that we were not animal slaves and we became a nation. But not just any nation, we became Hashem's nation. So Chachamim, to understand this, Chachamim give us a mashal, a parable, that there is a prince that was taken captive. As long as the prince lived in the palace, he always had a very lavish birthday party. But then he was captive until the day that he came back after a few years, that he came back to the palace as a free prince, the free person. His father, the king, made a party. But not only that day that he came back, but every year he commemorated that date, the date that his son came back from captivity. And so Hashem also, he wants to commemorate every year the day that we were freed, that we came to Hashem, we became Hashem's nation. And we commemorate it, as the mitzvah tells us, forever. We go on in the parasha, and then we learn all about the mitzvot of matzah and chametz, korban pesach. And it says in the pasuk, tishmor et hamatzot, that you have to be careful about the matzot. You have to watch them. And Chachamim tell us, don't read it matzot, read it mitzvot. It's exactly the same letters. What does this mean? Bezerizut. That when you do the mitzvot, you do it bezerizut, meaning with diligently, with not with laziness, but right away you go and you do it with a full heart, and you don't just let it just sit and wait. So in Sefer Mesilat Yesharim, Perek Vav, we learn about characteristics of men, of people, right? Human characteristics, speech, of type of speech, good speech, bad speech, lashon hara, lashon tov, right? Laziness, diligence, and etc. And the Mesilat Yesharim asks, what is man? What is man? Man is made from afar, from dust. And then, after man was shaped, Hashem blew ruach, a spirit, into the Adam. Ruach, so we are made of two things. The afar, that pulls us down, which is the dust, and the ruach, the spirit that pulls us up to spirituality. And so the ruach pulls us up to do mitzvot, to learn Torah, to do what is spiritual. But the dust, the afar, is pulling us down to pleasures and to things that we want to do, right? And we run to do them. So it means that there's a constant battle between the spiritual and the physical. Malachim only have spirit. the spiritual. They are constantly running from one end of the world to the other within seconds. They are constantly running to do what Hashem is telling them to do. The Gemara says that Michael, the angel Michael, he can be on one end of the world, going to the other side of the world within seconds, right? And that's why Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema said, "Heveratz katzevi, run to do the mitzvah. Run like a gazelle, like a deer. Run fast to do a mitzvah." Ratz, run, comes also the word that comes from the word ratzon, which is the will, because when we want to do something, we run, we do it fast, with zerizut, diligently. We want to do it. We are not waiting. We go and we just do it. We act quickly because that's what we want to do. And the Mesilat Yesharim says, our mission is life is to resemble malachim, because they go from one end of the world to the other very, very, very fast. So we should behave this way when we have to do mitzvot. And we also learn it from Avraham Avinu. When Hashem told Avraham Avinu to go and take Yitzchak and bring him for a korban, as a sacrifice. What does it say? Vayashkem Avraham baboker. He woke up very early. He cut the wood himself, but he had servants. All his servants. Any one of them would have done it. No. Avraham Avinu wanted so much to do what is right and the proper way, with zerizut, that he woke up early for the Akedah. And that means fighting our physical. It's the same when the Malachim came to Abraham. That was the day when it was very hot. It was the third day of Abraham Brit Milah. And when Abraham saw them, he ran to them. Please come, sit down. I'll give you to wash your feet. And then what did he do? He ran to Sarah. Mahari, quickly, he said to Sarah. Quickly, bake some cakes. Actually, the cake that he was referring to, it was matzah, because it was Pesach. And he didn't stop here. He quickly went to the tzon, to the sheep, and took with him Ishmael. He was looking for a nice one, a nice sheep, not one but three, because he wanted to serve tongue to each one of the malachim. And he said he wanted to catch good ones, good sheep with tender meat. One of the sheep ran away from Abraham. Abraham started to run, but because Abraham ran so far and so much, the bandage that he had came off, and he was actually bleeding. Abraham didn't stop. Abraham actually fixed his bandage, and kept running. He must have been in pain. Doesn't matter. He just kept on running and ran and did what he felt was the right thing. And actually, we spoke already about this, that this is how he found out about the Ma'at HaMachpelah. And also, we learn about Moshe in Sefer Devarim, when it was time for Moshe to pass on. Hashem told him, okay, go up the mountain. Moshe could have taken his time, one step at a time. Moshe knew why, because Hashem told him, that's it. Your time is up. Now it's time for Yoshua to be the next leader. And so Moshe could really have taken his time to go up, but he didn't. He went straight up, knowing very well that these were the very last minutes of his life, that Hashem was going to take his neshama away. And Rabim explained to us the fact that we perform a mitzvah bezerizut, with diligence, that is the mitzvah. That is a mitzvah, that we are not just laying back, saying, okay, I have time to do my mitzvah. So for Erev Shabbat, we start early. We start Friday, we start Thursday. Some of us start from Wednesday already, right? Because we want to get ready for the mitzvah. We want everything done for the mitzvah. And here I would like to tell you a story. This is a story about, we just said how Hashem, we just learned, Hashem is taking care of each and every one of us, and he protects us. So in Israel, there's a young man who started to do teshuvah, and he started to go to classes. And he was going to classes in Bnei Brak, to the classes of a certain rabbi by the name of Rabbi Yosefi. And he really enjoyed those classes. He had a very good friends, but the friends had no interest. And he kept on asking him, please come to the classes. Come, you will enjoy it. Come. But never really. Till one day he said to him, okay, I'll come. He came. He didn't want to get out of the car. He didn't go inside. He stayed in the car. And the end of the class, as Rabbi Yosefi was leaving the shul, so let's call Abraham the one who did teshuvah, he went over to Rabbi Yosefi and told him, listen, I have a friend. His name is Michael. Could you say a few things to him? He's a good person, but would you be able to say a few things to him? So Rabbi Yosefi said, sure. He said, where is he? Is he here in the car? So they went down the stairs, and Rabbi Yosefi went up to this young man, to Michael. Michael got out of the car, and Rabbi Yosefi looked at him, and he said, you know, when Moshe killed, one day Moshe went out in Egypt, and in Mitzrayim, and he saw an Egyptian hitting a Jew so hard that he was actually going to kill him. And because of this, because he was going to kill him, Moshe decided he's going to kill the Egyptian to save the Jew. And Paro heard about it. He caught Moshe, and he said, okay, we're going to cut off his head. So Moshe was put in chains. His head was put on a table or a top, some kind of a top. And one of the guards had his sword, and he brought it very hard down on Moshe's neck. But we know that Moshe did not die. So what happened? What happened is that Hashem made a miracle, that he made Moshe's neck turn into marble. The sword actually broke. Nothing happened to Moshe. So as the law was, that because the sword broke, Moshe was able to run away. Hashem made them, the Midrash says, that Hashem made them lose their sight. They couldn't see which way Moshe went, and he left and he ran away. Michael listens to this story. Okay, this is all you're telling me? Fine. And the rabbi left. And Michael turns to Abraham and says, what is this? Really? This is what you bring me for, to listen to a story like that? Really, this is what you come and you do? You sit down and this is what they tell you? This kind of stories? Said, no, you don't understand. Abraham was trying to explain to him. Said, I don't understand. You're right, I don't understand anything. Goodbye. Actually, I have a plan. I have a trip that I'm taking, and goodbye. I'm not seeing you. Okay. Abraham was really very upset. He was, in a way, a little bit disappointed that Rabbi Yosefi did not speak about anything else. He didn't understand what was so relevant at that moment that Rabbi Yosefi should speak about Moshe's being saved. Okay. So now Michael leaves leaves Israel, and he decides to go traveling. So he goes here and there, many places, until he lands in Japan. Now in Japan, somehow he got involved with the mafia, and at one point they gave him a big like a suitcase, a huge suitcase full of drugs, and they told him, you have to take this suitcase, sell it in this place, and obviously you have to bring us the money, right? So he looked at this, he took it, no problem. On the way there, he said to himself, just a minute, here this is millions of money. What am I going to do? I'm going to take just like a maaser. I'm going to take 10%, it's nothing. They're not going to know that I took so little when they're going to find all that money, right? And I'm going to bring them back the money, and they'll be fine. And that's what he did. He sold it all. He really had a suitcase full of money, and he put some aside for himself, and then he went to meet the boss. The boss was very happy that he had sold all the drugs. But wait a minute, they're counting the money. Aha, some money is missing. The boss wasn't a fool. So he said, what do you think you're doing? You think that you can steal from me? I'm going to teach you. Someone who does something like this is put to death. And then we make the body disappear, and no one ever knows of what happened to you and where you are or what happened to you. When he heard this, he felt so desperate. He said, no one will ever. And somehow in his mind he was thinking, no one will ever say Kaddish for me. What's going to be? Out of nowhere he had this thought. And so right away they went to the basement. He was chained. They put his head on a table, and one of the guys had his sword, and he lifted up. At that moment when he lifted up, he said a prayer. Hashem, I remember the words of Rabbi Yosefi, not to give up, even if the sword is on your neck. Hashem, save me. And the guard was just about to bring down the sword when the door opened up. And so he stopped. The guard stopped. The door opened up. Who walked in? The wife of the boss. And she's looking at this. She understands what's going to happen. She says, what is this? What's going on here? So they told her, well, this man, he deserves to die because he did something wrong. He stole money from us. The boss said to kill him. She said, what are you talking about? There's no way you are going to kill this man. Let him go. Open up his chains and let him go. And they're looking at her. What? She said, this man, when there was an earthquake, my son was right 5 years ago. He was right under all the rubble. He dug up with his hands. He had blood on his hand from digging up and moving on the rubbles. And he took my son and he saved my son's life. And you want me to allow you to kill him? They understood. They have got to listen to her. And they stopped. But they didn't just let him go. They said to him, from here you're going to the airport. And don't you ever dare come back to Japan. Because if we catch you, you'll be gone. So Michael knew what to do. He knew he couldn't fool around. He just got the next plane to Israel. He went to Israel. As soon as he landed to Israel, he called up his friend Abraham. Abraham, oh, where have you been? You've been gone for a year or so. How are you doing? Where are you? What's going on? So he says, listen, before I tell you what's going on, you are going to go and buy me tefillin, buy me a talit, buy me a siddur, and tell Rabbi Yosefi I'm coming to his classes. What? He says, yeah, I'm coming to see you. I don't have time. I'll speak to you. And then he met his friend Abraham and he told him, this is what happened to me. At that moment, I was saved because of what Rabbi Yosefi said. Gam ki elech begetz al mavet lo irara. Even if I walk in the valley of death, nothing bad will happen to me. Because Hashem, you protect me. Hashem, you're with me. And that's the biggest lesson that this parasha can teach us. So, to finish off, may Hashem help us in to fulfill the mitzvot, bezerizut, and may Hashem be always with us, that Hashem should always be with us wherever we are and whatever we do, and no matter what the situation is.